Hey y'all, have you ever wanted to create a retro character in Procreate? Today's your lucky day. Let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is create a new canvas. I'm going to use this likely in a reel soon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 1080 by 1920 to set that up for an Instagram reel size. So what I'm going to do first is over here, I've got my layers. I like to make my background color just a little bit gray so I can see where my whites are when I start doing that. And then I select and make a black. I use black for my initial sketch. So the first step is going to be the pencil sketch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select a pencil. I like this set from Boring Friends. I purchased it through True Grit Texture Supply. So I'm just going to grab my pencil here. Today we're going to do kind of like a little coffee cup character. So what I do is I'm just going to map out kind of my character base, right? And so I'm going to make kind of this round shape for the cup itself, and then I want the actual coffee cup to probably be about here, and it needs a little handle. And with this character, I'm gonna want it to have kind of we've got to do the big retro eyes. And with this guy, I'm gonna have him have some pretty long legs. It's gonna be kind of like stilt leg. And I'm just roughing in kind of the look that I want here. Have this one a little bit bent. And then the arms, he's gonna have his hands kind of like on his hips a little bit. And I'll go. So I want to just kind of follow the form of the character. And that's looking pretty good for my sketch layer. So then we go to step 2. Step 2 is going to be adding line work to this character. So what we want to do here is really define and clean up some of these lines a little bit. So in order to do so, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer. It's going to be my drawing layer. I'm going to go back to my sketch layer and I'm going to double tap it with 2 fingers. And I'm going to reduce the opacity quite a bit so I can see what I'm doing. Then go back to my sketch layer. And here there's, I want kind of a liner pen. I want something that flows nicely. So I've got this liner here that I really like to use. If I click on this and click on stabilization, I can see that I've got a good amount of stabilization. I might even make that go a little more. And the nice thing about that is instead of just kind of breaking, you have a little bit more fluidity in your lines. So with that, see how it kind of lays down a little bit nicer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and start defining some of these things. So I've got my eyes. And one characteristic that seems to be pretty common in these retro characters is this kind of like little eye highlight. And so what I always do is cut out this little shape to give it that little highlight. And then the nice thing about, most of you probably know about Procreate, but you can make almost perfect circles by holding the shape there. Got that. And then I'm gonna do the same thing here. Oh, didn't want to work for me. So maybe we'll just freehand that one. And then I want to add his arms in, a little elbow. And then another characteristic that you see is pretty common are these like retro kind of white gloves, right? And so this is his right hand, so the thumb is going to be on top. And we're just kind of outlining our original sketch and cleaning it up in places where maybe we weren't happy with the angle or the line work. We can make his arms black. And then we'll go in and draw the legs. We'll do this one nice and straight. And then same thing, that retro characters always have these kind of overly exaggerated boot. As you can see, I'm going a little bit outside of my sketch because the thickness of the legs wasn't really uniform, so I'm kind of tightening that up. Do another exaggerated boot here. And that's feeling pretty good here. So then the third step, and what I do here, is add color. And so in order to do that, what I'm doing is I'm going to add a layer below my line art, and I can go ahead and hide my sketch layer now so I can kind of see what I'm doing a little bit. And then this, what I want to do is I want to make that line layer a reference layer, and that enables me to come in here and choose some colors. I really like this campfire color palette that's provided by Procreate, so we can just go ahead and use that. So for maybe the boots are this kind of like reddish color, and see, as you can see, it's staying within the bounds of this reference layer, but it's on its own layer. So, and that's important for later if I want to import it into Illustrator or use it somewhere else with just the line work. So I can go in here and do this, and I really like, maybe we want this guy to be kind of a yellow coffee cup. We'll go in, and looks like that's all the yellow, and so then we'll add our white on the gloves. And so you can see it didn't fill because there's a gap there, so all I have to do is come back to my reference layer, go back to my pen, make sure it's black, and then I can correct that and make sure that everything's connecting here. Go back to my color layer, select white, and then I can, if I want to fill more stuff, I can click this continue filling. Oops, it went away. Continue filling, and it'll allow me to come in and fill more stuff. But it looks like that's all the white that I'm going to need today. And so maybe we want a little bit brighter yellow there. And our character's looking pretty good so far. So the last thing that I like to do, and I'm going to show you two different ways to do it, to add a little bit of depth to it, there's a really simple way to do it with halftones. And so what I can do is I can jump in here and either make it black, which is kind of a nice look, and I'll create a new layer on top of everything else, and I'll just choose one of these rough dots, like halftone patterns, and that allows me to kind of come in here and add some shading, which you see in a lot of these illustrations. And if you go over, you can just clean it up a little bit. And it's just really like kind of subtle shading that you're adding to these guys. And think of it as your light source is coming in from this way, because those are the highlights in the eyes. So things kind of on the opposite side are going to be shaded a little bit, right? Like this handle is probably going to be shaded, and then this inside here. And so that's one way that you can do shading. So another way to do the shading is I'll come in here and I'll add a new layer so we can see, and I've hidden my halftone layer in case I want to use it later. But what I'll do is I'll actually use that same liner, which I like is this thicker kind of tapered liner, and I'll come in here and I will actually paint kind of where I want the shadows to be. And then I can change the opacity, drop that down so it gives them depth right there. See, so like this is going to be darker, and probably parts of his hand are going to be a little bit darker. His foot on this side is going to be darker. And we're just adding a little bit of shading here that's giving it that depth that we wanted. And you can even add back in your halftones if you want and have both of them. So it really kind of defines your character and gives it that really retro look. And then one of the last things that I'll do is if I'm going to print this or use this as, you know, as a raster image instead of a vector image, I can go ahead and add some things in that I think are really fun. Like I'll come in here and add a background color. You know, maybe I wanted this darker background color. And then what I can do is create a layer on top, and there's some fun effects that you can do where like this ink abrasion I really like. And so I'm going to select this color and use the ink abrasion on my new layer. And that gives it this kind of distressed look. And there's different things you can do, like laying it on natural papers and things like that. But I just really like, and that, you know, that might be a little strong, but I can always tone it down a little bit with the opacity. And as you can see, that looks really nice and kind of retro and gritty. This is just a quick start on creating retro characters on Procreate. On the next video, I'll show you how to create these so that you can bring them into Adobe Illustrator and make them vector images. That way you can scale them or blow them up or do whatever you need to with them. I hope this helped, and if you like what you saw, go ahead and subscribe and keep watching. Thanks.